Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going over this pistol that you see right here in my hands. This is one of the surplus guns that's coming into the country right now. It is the Star Model BM. So a lot of folks are going to say it looks like a 1911. There's some truth to that, but there's also some key differences between this and your typical GI style 1911. But these are coming in right now. Like I said, I think they're $229 over at J&G Sales, which is where we picked it up. I also picked up an extra mag, which I recommend doing as well, because anybody who's been in the surplus game for a while knows that when stuff's coming in, it's plentiful. 5-10 years down the road, you're trying to find a mag for your gun. Good luck. So I do recommend doing that as well. But what we're going to do today is of course shoot some steel with it like we typically do. This pistol is chambered in 9mm, and of course we have a single stack mag, and we're going to put some rounds through it. Like I said, might as well get started now and see how it does. Now, being an all steel 9mm pistol, as you'd imagine, the recoil is not bad at all. That said, it is on the thin side, so the recoil is not being distributed like it would with, say, like a polymer gun or something like that. So it's coming right back in the web of your hand. I've actually got a little bit of a cut there on the back of my hand that's starting to develop from slide bites. So those of you guys who have really meaty hands, that's something to be concerned with. So this pistol's definitely got some cool heritage. These have been used by the Spanish military and police forces. Judging by the fit and finish on this one, it looks like it was Arsenal refinished. Either that or never issued, because it really is in very good shape. All the wear that I see around the barrel is from me shooting it, so that's kind of a good sign there. So let's go over the features here real quick, and we'll just sort of roll in photos to let you guys check it out. The sights are very military style sights, very common rather military style sights of the era. So basically our rear is adjustable for windage. If you wanted to drift it over right or left, you can do so. It also has a little hash mark in there, which I do like, that tells you that you are in the middle. So for folks who are the armorers putting these together, you could tell if your sights were drifted or not, which is nice. The front sight is just a post, and there's no way to adjust, change out, anything like that. That front sight, of course, if you bought one of these, I'd probably put some paint on there. Me personally, it would help me draw my eye to it. So on the right side of the pistol, you do see the Century engraving, and they are the ones who are importing these, at least as of right now. You'll see the serial number both on the slide and then on the frame, but there's also a second serial number that's put on there by Century at the time of importing. So just kind of one of the things we have to deal with imported pistols here. On this side of the pistol, on the left side, you'll see the markings of the Star Model BM, and of course the Spanish insignia there. The slide has decent serrations on the back, particularly for a pistol of this era, and you'll also note that unlike 1911s, again, of the era, it has an external extractor. So I know a lot of modern 1911s will have that. This one, of course, came like that when it was produced from the factory. The safety on this gun is on the left side of the pistol only, so for you lefties out there, just something to keep in mind. Now, even with the safety disengaged, we'll just make sure we're clear again, we are. At this point, I cannot pull the trigger because the pistol has a magazine safety, unfortunately. So take our magazine and put it in. This one's a little sticky, the other one's not. Again, surplus luck, right? So at this point, you can pull the trigger. One thing I want to point out, and probably have zoom in for you guys there, is that unlike 1911s that have a straight trigger that pulls to the rear with the little bow, this is actually a hinge trigger. You can see it's pulling from the back. However, it's still extremely crisp. You get right here, and it breaks very nicely. It's a little heavy though. If you put it on a trigger gauge, a trigger pull gauge, at least this one, mine breaks right around 8 pounds. So compared to most 1911s, it's on the heavy side. But because the travel is so short and it is so crisp, it's still very easy to get hits with. So can't really be too mad about that. Again, unlike 1911s, just some other differences there. We do not have a grip safety. A lot of people like that, myself included. I really don't see the need for a grip safety. However, we should also mention that this pistol has no provision for a firing pin safety. So if you are going to carry it cocked and locked, just be aware of that. So the safety, speaking of cocked and locked, is very small, so very similar to the A1 versions of the 1911s, and we have a traditional spur hammer that has very nice color case hardening on there as well, so it's definitely a nice feature. One thing you might be able to notice here while I'm doing this is if I push up on it, you'll see the hammer move, so check it out. So it's actually the safety that's preventing the hammer from going forward. And then disengage, you'll see it go forward again. So it is actually actuating the hammer when you actuate the safety. So the grips there, very nice, good checkering for, again, a pistol of this era. They're very nice and do give you a good grip. There are no serrations there up front though. You know, of course, me personally, I would like that. The more grippiness for me, the better, but it's not a big deal. Again, with the steel pistol in 9mm, it's not going anywhere. Some other things, the slide lock there is actually serrated on the top, so it is designed as a slide lock and a slide release. The same thing there for the safety. We have a little bit of grooves cut out there just to help you positively actuate it. We'll check out the takedown of it here, but first we'll put some more rounds through it. I should also note there that the mags do not drop free. So take that one to the side and put our second one in. You can see that one, unlike the other one, goes straight in. It's not sticky. So we'll send it home and ring the steel. Locks back on the last round. It has every time for every round we put through it, so can't really be mad about that. Disassembling the pistol is pretty straightforward, but there are some little quirks to it. So of course we're going to drop our magazine first and then put down the safety, make sure we're unloaded, and we are. So at this point we're going to lock our slide to the rear by pushing up there on your slide lock. But one thing you'll notice is that the safety here can't go all the way up. So there's that little gap there. So what we want to do is just pull the slide a little bit to the rear more and engage the safety there. So that way it actually holds it open. At this point, your little slide lock and slide release will just pop right out, just like so. Now we're going to let our slide go forward. And you can see in there, very simple mechanics. Again, there is no provision for the firing pin safety. So we can pull our recoil spring and guide rod out. You can see, of course, they are all steel. And we're going to push our link forward here on the barrel, just like a 1911. Slide it home, but at this point, you have to turn the bushing up front. And you can slide it all out, take our bushing off. Again, very 1911-ish in terms of that. So that really is the process for disassembly. Reassembly is basically the opposite of the disassembly, but there are some little quirks to it. Put a barrel in like that, make sure our link goes to the rear, put the bushing in rather, and line it up so it's nice and flush like that. Now we'll put our recoil spring and guide rod in there. I've heard some people say that they have to put those in upside down. I've never had that be necessary. So you can see we want our link forward, just like that. And it's hard to do here on camera with that link, because what I want to do is make sure, there you go, I got it, that it lines up, so that way when we put our slide release through, slide lock and slide release, we're actually putting it through the bushing hole as it's designed. So here, we'll point out something else here on the slide lock. We do have this little detent here, and what that's for is for the next step in reassembly that we're about to show you. So we're going to lock it all the way to the rear, again, with that little notch using the safety. Now this detent is going to line up right here and have to be pushed through. Sometimes you can do it with force, but if you just kind of, I'm going to do it with my finger now. I'm going to push that detent in just like that, and it goes in, no problems. At that point, we got to go home, put our magazine in, and we're good to go. With the gun back together, we'll send a few rounds down range with it and then kind of give you our closing thoughts. One thing I should mention is these magazines are 8-round magazines, so you can carry it 8+1, of course, with it cocked and locked. That is an option, so for a total of 9 rounds, you could top it off just like that, and you would be just fine. So we'll bring a little bit more steel and then talk about it at the end. A little 6-incher down there got me. Anyway, so take our magazine out. And so final thoughts, right? It's an all-steel pistol. It is not lightweight. We'll put the weight rather down below so you guys can check that out. But it's a very good shooter. Absolutely, I think it could be a concealed carry gun, even in a modern day era, right? So there are obviously other guns I personally would pick for concealed carry, but it's nice and slim. The recoil impulse is not bad at all. 9 rounds of 9mm, nothing to sneeze at. The sights are a little rough and there's not a lot of options there, so that's one of the downsides, but the price is really attractive, right? So if you only have $250 for a gun right? That's something I would take a look at, because you could get this probably plus a transfer fee out the door for around $250 with what they're selling for over at J&G Sales. It definitely appears to be a very high quality pistol. To make something like this today in terms of this design with this construction, I would imagine would be a lot more than $200 out the door. So that's one of the nice things about Surplus. We've only ran one magazine of hollow points through it. It was some 124 grain Hornady XTPs. It ate them just fine. That said, I would definitely recommend, if you're going to carry hollow points with this, to thoroughly test it, because I would imagine, I don't know this for sure, but I would imagine they weren't designed with that in mind. So definitely something to think about there. But in terms of the finish, it's great. It shoots well. It's a cool piece of history, like most Surplus guns are. So that's something I certainly like. But I suppose we will end it there and wrap the video up. Again, these are over at J&G Sales. There'll be a link down below if you guys are looking to pick one up. But thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. For those of you guys that aren't subscribers, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you like what you see here. And if you guys have questions, comments, you can put those down below in the comments section. You can also put those over at my Facebook page, as always. But anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.